Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. Good evening, wheresoever you're listening to me from and whatsoever time of day. Welcome to the Young and Sane podcast. Yeah, it's been a while and we're back fully for the year. So, today's topic, we're just going to hop right into it. We're talking about social media influence, comparison, and pressure today. And of course, we all know that social media is now the big thing. Everybody, everyone is kind of competing for attention on social media. It's now a modern day marketplace for attention where we're all trying to sell ourselves, or, ensure that we remain relevant and be in people's faces every time of the day, and it's not an easy feat. Now, see how algorithms are playing tricks and tricks here and there with how they show your content to others. So everybody just trying to ensure that they are friends with the algorithm. The algorithm loves them, and then they have a lot of people's attention, of course. Um, so that it can boost our likes, and likes equal to relevance or acceptance or importance, where your likes and how people shape you, how people see you shapes your opinion about yourself, it determines behaviors and trends of people. um Everybody's now a social media influencer, and it impacts how people consume products and services these days, right? And people want to go for who is known, who is seen, who is heard, a person who is considered relevant and loved by majority of people, right? And all of these things just impact our self-worth and makes a lot of us aspire to become the same influencers that will be in people's faces, having a lot of people's attentions and all of that. And you can see it with the viral trends, especially on TikTok challenges. One time it was very demure, very cutesy, such kind of things, and then you have to do it so that the algorithm can pick up your content and push it out because it's part of a challenge. And some dance challenge, or sometimes it's I think recently it's uh Aaron Pierre, that's Mufasa. So you see all of those trends and challenges that people jump on, maybe beauty trends, mm, all of those things just begin to shape our everyday life behaviors and all of those things so that we can be in front of people's faces. Content can be suggested to more people and all of that. And so, in the bit of trying to be on social media and trying to attain this position of an influencer on social media, you see that people begin to do a lot of things to jump on trends and begin to try to bribe the algorithm, try to make the algorithm our friends in whatever way, form, or shape, and so that we can be in the face of people, we can compete for people's attention, we can hold people's attention. The number of likes can increase, the number of followers can increase, and sometimes it begins to tell on how we view ourselves, whether we are worthy, whether we are important, whether we are relevant, and all of those things. And then takes us into this trap of comparison. Now, social media 99%, 99.9% of social media life is curated realities, just fake realities, a lot of editing, a lot of lightning, a lot of glow to look shiny. But in real life, are people actually living like that? And I kid you not, I've had, you know, Since I joined social media and also became a creator on social media, I've had a lot of pictures. I had to screenshot and take the shots, like just snap a lot of them because I'm like, this is fancy and I love it and I want it. And I have over, not to exaggerate, but over 1,000 pictures of screenshots of very different things that I want to get or I want to have, just a lot of things right from social media. And sometimes um subconsciously I get to this place where I begin to compare myself with other people. It's just a very subconscious act to do. When you see somebody maybe in same field or same niche, social media niche, content creation niche, you begin to compare yourself. You want to know what they're doing. You want to know how did they get to where they are, right? And then some other people you just see all of a sudden you're trying to compare your life with theirs. You're trying to compare your methods with theirs. You're trying to speak like they speak. This comparison trap is just a lot. And I found myself there a lot of times. So I know that it's not negotiable. A lot of us are falling into this comparison trap because of the influence of social media. Um, and a lot of us do not understand that social media is a lot of is filled with a lot of created reality in real time as against real life, what you can see in real life. So, although these days people are craving, real life realities and all of those things, but yeah, a lot of what is on social media is still created realities, and understanding that most of the content we see online, they are edited, they are filtered, they are staged, will help us to just get out of this comparison trap. So also because social media makes us to begin to get addicted to dopamine, the dopamine that is released when we feel pleasure because of the kind of likes or the amount of comments or the amount of likes, comments and shares on our social media content. It creates that validation loop that becomes addictive. So our dopamine is always increasing each time we see the number of likes, the number of shares, the number of comments, and it gives us this sense of, oh, I'm important, this sense of validation. And so it takes you, spirals you down to the comparison trap again, that when the next content do not have so much of likes, comments or shares as the other, you begin to think yourself as you're not doing what you're supposed to do, you're not doing well, right? Because of that addiction to the validation that dopamine from the likes, comments and all of those things are giving. Now there's also the psychological impacts because a lot of people now begin to compare themselves. um you begin to see yourself in, according to the number of likes, shares and comments that you have on your social media field. And now when you don't get those likes, comments and shares on whatever content you post, it can lead to anxiety. And what is anxiety? Anxiety is that you're worried, you're depressed, you have this feeling of sadness and hopelessness, like nobody will like me. Then you begin to doubt yourself because you're always comparing yourself to others. Probably you've copied their methods, their styles, their editing techniques, how they say what they say, how they make it interesting, how they laugh, how they dress. You would have copied a lot of that by comparing yourself with them, and then you fall into this loop of um you know anxiety and depression. Sometimes is that you will try to copy them, but you're unable to meet up with the level or the standard of glow or curated realities that are showing you, and then you become so worried and sad, anxious and depressed, right? So yeah, these are things that make us fall into the trap of comparison because of social media influence. Influence is a lot, is usually a lot. Now I've had a lot of stories, I've heard a lot of stories that stemmed from how people, individuals struggled with social media induced self-esteem issues. And one of those story is this particular girl who Facebook was the social media platform she was using, and all and on she tried to use other people's methods of posting back to back, posting 10, 11 times a day, posting about herself, her business, just giving a lot of angles, telling a lot of stories. And for each post she made, the likes were not up to, the likes that the people she was comparing herself with got. And then this girl just, fell into this trap of depression and anxiety and began to think low of herself, like she's not up to this, still looking for faults and doubting her looks and all of those things. And before you know it, she became depressed and with so much anxiety, and couldn't show up again on social media because it was like, ah, maybe I'm not doing the right thing. Maybe people do not like me. Like just stare doubting her life and herself and her existence on earth. So you see from the story of this girl, how social media influence and comparison dragged her to this loop of depression and anxiety. So it's a lot. And I think I used to be there. I've always not liked social media, and it's because of the competition for attention. Like everybody's craving to be in people's faces, everybody's craving to be, giving attention to or to be relevant. And I didn't like that. I prefer to just sit on the sidelines. I prefer not to post anything, so that when I do not, how it feels when you put your heart to create something, maybe a piece of story, a spoken word, a video, whatever piece of content, and you put it out there and you're getting no likes, no single like, no single comment. People just see your post and scroll past, right? And it's so bad. So I was in this position where I was like, you know what? Rather than, and I loved having a lot of likes on my picture because, come on, I'm a fine girl, right? So it was just normal that people should do this. People should like what I post, but nah, it wasn't happening. Post a very brilliant piece of content and you'll be getting 20 likes. You'll be getting on Facebook, all right? Because I think Instagram algorithms quite more difficult than Facebook's algorithm. But even though Facebook is becoming very unpredictable these days, but yeah, it used to be me. And so I hardly would want to post. Apart from the fact that it takes a lot of energy to put in that kind of work, and then post. Now, the feedback from whatever you share will now be very little compared to the kind of or the amount of energy that you put into it. So it used to be very discouraging for me and started affecting also my self esteem. I began to think of myself as maybe I'm not as fine as other people, or maybe I'm not really saying these things well. Maybe I can't really write well. Maybe I'm not a good storyteller. There's a way I talk that people do not like. So, you know, it got me also into that loop. And until I got to this place where I had to break free from that need to seek validation from people. Now I've identified myself as a content creator, right? Taking up that identity as a content creator. And so I'm going to create content and show up consistently and post on Facebook, on Instagram, on every kind of social media platform, regardless of whether they are likes or they are comments. I do hope for likes, I do hope for comments, I do hope for engagement, on my post, on every piece of content that I put out there. But I'm not so attached to the likes and the comments and the shares that people would give me, because I've come to this healed version of myself where I just create because that is who I am. I create because I'm a creator, right? So I'm going to keep creating. Now it's left for people to like it, to learn from it, to get something from it. But I'm not going to be attached to how they view my content, how they like it, how they perceive it, and all of those things. I'm just going to create from the place of I want to change life, I want to impact people, I want to educate people, I want to make people informed about certain issues in life. So I think this is where I got to in uh in life. Right? But I had to go through that comparison trap. I had to enter into that loop or that hole of comparison, and I got here. So it's not an easy fit. But you see how social media can now begin to pressure us, and then the comparison that comes with social media influence can now begin to put a lot of pressure on us to keep up with the culture. So when you have a lot of following, and then you have a lot of likes, and you know you feel the constant need to show up so that people can again thumbs up, likes, love, shares, so that you can be validated again. So you need a constant loop of keeping up. Now you have to also keep up with the way you post, the things you say, the content you make, how you show up, else you may lose your the online presence that you have created. So the need to now keep up, it's it puts a lot of pressure on whomsoever this creator is, this content creator is, because you always feel the need to post, flex, and maintain an aesthetic online persona that if you depart from what you've always presented yourself to be, people will not want you, people will not like you. So that keeping up culture puts a lot of pressure on people to perform and to conform to certain standards. Now, about people's career and success, you know, a lot of people have social media have taken up a context of success in career and personal life, that people now feel very pressured to be successful, like how social media has painted success to be. So you have a lot of unrealistic expectations of success at a very young age. So this person is coming up to say how I made my first $1 billion at age 22. And who I'm 25 and I've never made 100,000. I've never made 10,000, you know, at age 25. Then I'm going to feel a kind of pressure to get to that point, right? And then with that kind of pressure, I can do all things and anything by any means to ensure that I make my first $1 billion at age, whatever age that will be. Right. So you see how it now creates this unrealistic expectations of success. Although sometimes I guess where this creators' point of view could be they want to inspire people to dream big, to work hard, and all of those things. But again, because of the constant struggle and competition to be at people's faces, to retain people's attention, to grow, to have a large following, to have viral content posts, to trick the algorithm to begin to love us. A lot of people begin to just, you know, make social media now become a marketplace for creating unrealistic expectations of success for young people. And that's sad, right? And then when you talk about cancel culture, oh my days. Cancel culture is a thing. So everybody's scared of cancel culture, and so everybody just wants to conform with what the expectations of social media is. Nobody wants to be different. Everybody wants to look the same, in the way that they'll be loved, like appreciated, talked about, validated, and all of those things. So there's a cancel culture, um, fear of cancel culture that is big. And so because people are scared of cancel culture, they don't want to make mistakes. So of course they'll keep on the circle and the loop of creating perfect, unrealistic, perfect online personas. Everybody wants to be politically correct. Everybody wants to be morally perfect and always relevant. So they're not going to differ on what other people have said so that they will not be cancelled. They do not want to make mistakes in front of people so that they don't want to be cancelled. So it creates a pressure again on people to always perform and conform to societal standards and expectations. In this case, social media standards and expectations. Then, of course, pressure will always affect people's identity, to always influence people's identity because you feel a lot of pressure to become a certain version of yourself as you've seen on social media, as you've seen other people become on social media. So you've created this version of yourself that you want to be by all means, any and all means. Now it will affect how young people begin to mold our personal, to fit online expectations. Some people want to become very controversial. Some people want to become very uh immoral, you know, just to conform to social media expectations and trends, and all this pressure is telling because of social media influence on people. Now it's not healthy, speaking from my point of view, and of course um a well noted and agreed point of view. It's not healthy to constantly put ourselves under this pressure to perform and conform to social media standards, trends, and everything that they like, because it will create a problem on our mental health, whether we like it or not. Right? People just want to do anything that they want to do, show up how they want to, just compare themselves, and at the end of the day they are damaging their own selves, their own body, their own souls, and their own spirit. Like, they're damaging themselves, and it's not good. So how do we break free from all of this social media influence that leads to comparison and pressure, and how can we use social media in a healthy way? Now, the first thing to do is to ensure that you begin to consume social media content in a very mindful way. Now, one thing I've noticed about the algorithm, I use Instagram a lot of times. Yes, I've started using Facebook, um, but I've noticed that based on the kind of content that you love to consume, the algorithms on Instagram and Facebook and even YouTube, right, will keep on suggesting that kind of content. They will bring it out as your recommended or suggested for you. So it's based on what you consume. And if you consume a lot of flashy, unrealistic, immoral, um, detrimental contents, right? Contents that are detrimental to your mental health, and contents that will make you feel so much pressure to conform and perform, then the algorithm is going to feed you with that. So you have to ensure that you consume content on social media in a very mindful way. Make sure that you build strategies to, you know, ensure that your feed provides you with the content that makes for value, that makes value available to you. Um and there you will have it. Make sure you consume content that are valuable on Facebook, and then you see the algorithm bending to provide those kinds of content for you, and also on Instagram. So you can limit harmful exposure to all of those contents that will fuel your need for comparison and putting yourself under pressure. All right. And then another thing is to detox and establish boundaries. Take breaks from social media. Have healthy screen time limits. Set healthy screen time limits. It's not easy because once you become addicted to just being on social media and mindlessly scrolling, not knowing what you're actually looking for, but you want to scroll because you just want your mind to be busy. You want to constantly hear voices. You want to laugh, just a lot of things, right? So you're mindlessly scrolling Instagram all day without no, without any aim in your mind. So sometimes take some time to find joy in other things. Maybe journaling with a book, a physical book, not your phone. Maybe reading physical copies of books or novels so that you can take a break from social media and limit your screen time. It's not easy, but it's doable. Now, when you become a creator on whatever social media platform, prioritize authenticity over perfection. Stop putting yourself in this comparison box where you have to do it like this creator, do it like this creator. Let me tell you, funny enough, I think I've practiced a lot of things that people say how to grow 1,000 followers in 10 days. And I think these things are peculiar to everybody. How to grow 50,000 followers in 2 days. I think it's peculiar to people, right? And so people just want to teach you their techniques and their strategies, but at the end of the day, sometimes they do not work as they say. But you yourself, you don't have to conform to being perfect. So they tell you that you have to do your content in this certain way, in this certain way. Of course, you're going to keep on learning as you go further and higher up the chain. But every time, prioritize being your true self, prioritize being authentic when you're sharing whatever on social media than being perfect, you know, in what you're sharing. So while you're sharing the real you matters more than fitting into trends. Sharing yourself to people. These days, people are looking for wholesome content. So, sharing wholesome content, your authentic you, right, is more fitting and more beneficial than fitting into trends. Trends will come and go, but at the end of the day, who are you? What are your values? If you decide to take up a persona that you are not online, how long would you be able to keep up with those trends? How long would you be able to keep up with that persona that you've taken up, right? So you have to prioritize authenticity so that people will love your content and love you for who you are, who you show yourself to be, right? Now, prioritize the power of community. Following accounts that uplift, educate, inspire you than trigger your insecurities and try to put you in this loop or circle of comparison and pressure will be more fitting for you. So one thing I did, if you check my Instagram feed, you will hardly ever see comedy. Now, not because comedy is bad. I do have some comedians that I follow. I follow Lasisi. I follow I think Sydney Talker. So I have a few comedy content social media accounts that I follow. But I noticed that the tendency to always follow a lot of comedy content would take my time and will not really add value to my life. So I follow um accounts or people who educate, who inspire, who try to make me better. um let me remember some of the accounts that I follow. I follow Esther Longe for long. I follow certain pastors' teachings, Femi Lazarus, um, Apostle Iron, Laju Iron. I follow certain actors and actresses that you know are in line with my beliefs and values, like Blessing Nze and Stan Nze. Um, yeah, I just follow a few people that I feel like whatever they share is mostly value over triggering my insecurities. And even though some of them would share um, fun moments or comedies sometimes, it's at least just a few. Kiki too, I follow Kiki, you know, her comedy content. But I don't follow a lot. So most of the things you see on my feed, I can't even remember their names right now because I'm not really about the names, but a lot of things about mindset, mental health, healing from trauma. When you open my Instagram feed, you're going to see a lot of that. So yeah, prioritize the power of community and follow accounts that will uplift, educate, and inspire you rather than trigger your insecurities. Now you have to be purpose driven on social media. Use social media as a tool for connection, as a tool for learning, as a tool for growth rather than seeking validation or just whiling away your time. Right? So every time I open my social media handles, I know that I'm going to see content of value. Even though sometimes I lose track of time. I become carried away with maybe what I'm listening to, and I want to listen again and keep on scrolling. That's mindless scrolling. But yes, I usually have a purpose for opening my social media. Sometimes I just want to go and listen to something, but because of the kind of people I follow, I always listen to things that will give me value, things that would help me learn more and grow. Right. So even when I share content on my feed, on my Facebook page, Instagram, LinkedIn, it's usually so that people can grow, people can learn, and I'm not really particular about the likes. I want the likes, let me tell you, by all means. I want to open my social media account one day and just see 100,000 likes, you know, 1 million followers, all of those things, 500,000 shares. I want to see all those things. I have those desires, but they don't really define the reason why I do my things. So I have a purpose driven approach to using social media, and you should do that too, so that you can break out from using social media in a way that will influence you to begin to compare yourself and put yourself under a lot of pressure. So we've come to the end of this podcast episode. With all of the things that I've shared, we are going to end on this note. So I hope that social media is actually influencing you positively in a place where you continue to remain young, relevant, but sane, right? Young, relevant, and sane, rather than being young and getting into the road of insanity because you're constantly comparing yourself to people, you're constantly putting yourself under pressure, you're constantly listening or consuming content that would fuel your insecurity. So I hope that you actually make use of all I've shared in this podcast episode to strategize and use social media in a healthy way. Thank you for listening. You can share your personal experiences um, on how maybe you've maintained a healthy relationship with social media or how you've overcome certain things on social media or how you've overcome comparison, a lot of those things on social media. You can share them with me in the comment section. I would love your reviews. Please send this podcast episode to people uh encourage people to listen, share it with your family and friends, so that we can all learn how to manage social media pressure. Now, also in the comment section, you can drop whatever you took away from this podcast. Now, with all this that I've said, I want us to get into a 7 day social media detox. Right now, this is how it's going to be. Not that you're not going to open your phones and go online, but I want you to go online with a purpose. So before you pick up your phone, before you go to Instagram, before you scroll, I want you to have a purpose in mind. Look for a certain person, right? You want to learn. Look for a certain person, go to their page, click on it, and learn. When you're done, you can now click out, right? You can either do this social media detox. Just try this for 7 days. This social media detox. Um, by just having a particular purpose, going to social media, clicking on that person's page, listening on one or two of their videos or content, and then heading back out. Think about what you've watched, internalize it, and that should be that for that day. Or in 7 days, you post, you know, create a valuable content and post. Don't bother about how many people get to like or share or drop a comment. Just post for 7 days, right? And mind the content that you consume. Also, you could also use 7 days, the 7 days social media detox, to go and unfollow the accounts that are not really adding value to your life. If you like comedy, you can follow a few comedy accounts, right? But then make sure that most of the social media accounts that you follow teach you, uplift you, help you to learn, and help you to grow, all right? Rather than, focus on life, unrealistic social media life. All right. So, with all of this said, we are wrapping up here. Thank you all for listening. So, this podcast episode. I hope to see you in the next episode. Bye.